I never get tired of hearing that. So, as of this recording, it is February the 9th, and yeah, it is officially, in motion, or however you want to say it, but Super Sentai is officially retired. It's not canceled, as many people are saying that it is. It's not canceled. If it was canceled, they would have said that, oh, this is the end, but it's not the end. It's just going into hiatus for a couple of years to recuperate themselves, and then they're going to come back. They didn't say when they were going to come back, but they just said that they're just going to retire the brand for a couple of years and then bring it back. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to make a prediction or anything. I'm not The Simpsons or anything like that, but I'm just going to go on a limb here and say that after Project Red has run its course with its three sort of mini-series entries, we're going to see Super Sentai make somewhat of a return. Granted, I'm not expecting it to, come back with a new season after all of that's said and done. No, far from it. I'm at the very least expecting a similar experience what we had with Kamen Rider, where it had to take a couple of years off before coming back into clutch with Kuga onwards. But getting back on track here, though, Super Sentai is no longer going to be in syndication. Now, what does that mean for everybody? So I think the first thing that a lot of people need to, realize now is that their favorite brand has officially ended after 50 years of being in motion since 1975. And while it is kind of hard to accept, and it is kind of, hard to, accept change and whatnot, it's just something that, needs to happen. Super Sentai has been struggling financially, and while we did have such major hitters in the last 5 or so years from Zenkaiger to now, not everything needs to last forever. All good things need to come to an end, or at the very least need to stop before things, make a turn for the worst, if that makes any sense. If it honestly sounds like I'm rambling throughout these first few minutes of this video, it's probably because I'm still fragmented in my thought process in this, and still, trying to process what exactly I'm feeling out of all of this. So just bear with me for however long this video is going to last. I think the first major feeling that I have right now after seeing the finale of Gojuger is honestly, like, I don't even know if I'm using this word right, but it's honestly depression, really. Because here's the thing, not to say that Gojuger was a horrible season by any means. It's a perfect season. It's not, okay, well, it's not exactly perfect, but it is a great anniversary season. Sure, some things may be, different from others, and some things may have been annoying to a degree, and it only made up after the finale. And yes, the show did technically dip in quality when Maya got replaced, but I'm not going to touch on that because it's been talked to death at this point. But I think, just the major thing I'm feeling right now is just despair, if that makes any sense. It's not because Super Sentai's gone or anything like that. It's just there wasn't really much fanfare put into it, if that makes any sense. Sure, there was a live concert that basically said no matter how bleak things are or how upsetting you may be, there will always be your heroes ready to come back at a moment's notice. That may be something that Toei said to the fans, saying that just because they're gone, it doesn't mean that their legacy is, gone forever. That's perfectly fine. But it's just that aside from what happened with the concert and everything, they didn't really do anything else to acknowledge it from that point forward. And I think personally, executives were also kind of in the wrong on this as well, because they're treating this as if oh, well, it's going to be gone anyway. It's not like we're going to care that much. I personally think that the way that they handle this whole Sentai going into retirement thing is kind of shitty. they sort of announced this out of the blue right before, like, right after the whole Maya and Mori stuff. They said Super Sentai is officially going to be ending after the 50 long, after its 50 long years of running. Then they had to backpedal on that, saying, well, we're not going to cancel Super Sentai. We're just going to take it off the air, focus on Project Red, and then we'll worry about what to do with it afterwards. There was no, like, proper press conference. The actors couldn't say anything on it because it's an NDA situation, or at least I think it's an NDA situation. But the general point I'm trying to make is that this whole, like, Sentai is going into retirement thing could have been handled so much better if they took this seriously. Because it's not only is it, like, depressing for, like, the Japanese fans or the fans for their intended audience, but Toei just does not seem to understand that there are also people stateside who care about this franchise. When I bought this shirt, I wanted this shirt because, like, it's all of my favorite Rangers just, represented on the shirt. Granted, not every single one of my favorite Rangers are represented on here, but you got pretty much most of the main hitters. Gosei Black, Gokai Green, the two green and black Rangers from Kyoryuger. Literally, both Goju Eagle and Goju Unicorn are on this shirt. And I bought this shirt because I have a personal connection with the Green Rangers, or in some cases, the Green and Black Rangers from specific Sentai seasons. But I just feel like the way that they handled this whole situation, it was like, we're ending it, well, we're not actually going to end it. We're ending it still, but we're going to put out this new show that we barely put any info out to the public as it is, aside from a couple of toy demos. And that's it. There was no official trailer. We got no other information aside from, like, the cast, supporting cast, the effects, and essentially retreading what Super Sentai does with a gimmick line, a changer that can also be a weapon, the weapon that can also be a mecha, auxiliary mecha toys. And bear in mind, Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity is coming out next week. And they haven't even released a proper trailer for it yet. And yes, I'm fully aware that it sounds like I am nitpicking, because I am. Like, it's just, there's no proper time to mourn this franchise. If anything, you could have done what you did before you made Ryu Soldier. Give it, like, another week or so before we can actually, go ahead and accept Galvan Infinity that's coming out next week. There's no time to process what we've lost so far. Personally, I feel like Toei really should have waited before they are going to do a brand new series out of it. And bear in mind, I didn't start out liking Sentai at first. I was a big fan of Power Rangers as a kid. I was born in 2001. I grew up on the series. I watched SPD, Dino Thunder, Operation Overdrive, Mystic Force. The last season I really ever remember watching, like, through and through was Megaforce and Super Megaforce. And that's where I decided that maybe Power Rangers just isn't for me, but the Sentai footage that they did use and stuff for that led me to Gokaiger, and then this whole entire other expansive world of Super Sentai. And then later on down the line, when Shout Factory was releasing physical copies of Sentai seasons that they haven't adapted yet, I was actually excited because I wanted to watch a show like Jetman, figured out why was this season skipped primarily in favor of Zyuranger, and this is probably one of the best Sentai seasons that I've seen in the Showa era. Granted, I haven't watched any other Sentai seasons that have been adapted yet, like Go-Go 5, Ginga Man, so on and so forth, but that's because I've only been picking the ones that have a personal connection with me, like with Gao Ranger and Hurricaneger. And when Shout Factory picked up the Sentai DVDs again, I picked up Abba Ranger because I genuinely wanted to see how this Sentai worked. And to my shock, it turned out to be a pretty great series. The Abba Ranger quickly went from just being a wacky dinosaur-themed Sentai season to being one of my top 10 Super Sentai seasons of all time. And that's a shock to me, in all honesty. See, this is the problem when talking to the camera for an extended amount of time. You tend to ramble on and go off on tangents left and right, and then you forget to drink and breathe for like 2 minutes, so I'm not very good at making these kind of videos, as you can tell. Alright, so let's just, like, take a breather real quick and just retread some points that I feel like I kind of got lost in it when I was making all those tangents. Super Sentai, to me, is a very important franchise. It's the one thing that sort of, gave me my uniqueness. It gave me a sense of purpose. And it told me basically, no matter how things get, there's always going to be other people right behind you to sort of keep your hopes and dreams together. And sure, the same thing can be technically said for Kamen Rider in the same regard, but Super Sentai meant a little bit more to me. And maybe that's because, like I said before, I grew up on Power Rangers, and then I sort of moved on from that and sort of got adapted into this whole entire outer world of tokusatsu. And I met some pretty great people because of this franchise. I mean, sure, I can't name every single person that I'm friends with off the top of my head because of Super Sentai, but to those who are watching this video right now, just know I'm talking about you guys specifically, because you guys rock. I mean, that's all I can really say. A franchise like this that brings people together is a franchise I want to be a part of. I mean, I went to Power Morphicon 2 years ago, and I want to go to it again this year. So, I don't know, I guess with just, like, it being retired for, like, the foreseeable future, I don't know, I guess I just want to make the most of it now while the legacy is, still alive, and I want to make sure that, that we still stay together. That's all I'm trying to get at here. But like I said before, I feel like Toei really should have waited like about a week or so, or, well, maybe not a week, more than a week actually. But I feel like Toei should have waited before they started doing all this whole Project Red stuff. I mean, to be fair, someone's probably going to say that they've been working on Project Red in the background for a better part of like 10 years at this point. But I feel like the timing could have been done just a little bit better. That's all I'm trying to get at. Give Sentai some time to, lay down to rest. Give the people some time to, come to terms with the fact that Super Sentai is, going to be gone for a little bit. And then slowly pull in Project Red with Space Sheriff Galvan Infinity. But I think, like, the general point I'm trying to make is that while circumstances right now may seem like Super Sentai is, no longer going to be part of, like, what we see from now on, from week to week, that doesn't mean that the dream isn't dead. Like, I'm still going to make content based on Super Sentai as it stands. My channel name is still going to be Gosei Green 1290, even though I've considered changing it to Gosei Gotchard in the past. But it's still going to be Gosei Green 1290. That's been a part of my channel identity for a long, long time, and it's going to stay that way for as long as I'm still on this platform. Okay, I forgot the sound. Okay, I forgot that that it was still on. I didn't know it was still on. My bad. Us as a community are still going to be going strong. People are still talking about Super Sentai even past the finale. Hell, some people are still talking about Power Rangers, even though that Power Rangers has been gone for longer than Super Sentai at this point. Sure, you can make the argument that Power Rangers is going to get a reboot on Disney Plus, and that it's probably going to stray even further away from Super Sentai, and Power Rangers is the reason Super Sentai is dead on the water as it stands because of Hasbro. And to that I say, just stop. There's no reason to, love one thing and hate the other. There's no reason to say one thing is the reason why this thing is failing. Sure, Hasbro is technically the key benefactor because Sentai has pretty much been declining in financial sales because there's no international sales market anymore. But that doesn't give them an excuse. But that doesn't give people the excuse saying that Power Rangers was the reason Super Sentai was dead. But for what it's worth, Super Sentai, for as many faults as it had in the past, for the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I still love this franchise. And like I said before, this is staying. Like, I'm still going to be going by Gosei Green 1290 in the near future. I'm still going to be talking about Super Sentai. I'm still going to make content inspired by Super Sentai itself. That's not going to change. Nothing's going to change, honestly. But I feel like it should be said, at least. Thank you for everything, Super Sentai. And until the stars align and the planets come into alignment and there's a solar eclipse on a leap year, I'll see you again, my heroes. I'll see you again. Also, for those who are going to be asking if I'm going to be taking a look at Space Sheriff Gav on Infinity, that's going to be a definitive no, because nothing about Project Red has interested me so far.